We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to one of the men in this nation who propelled my understanding to becoming a public speaker. Welcome back from that break after hours. Definition of Friday night with the Minister for Fun and Entertainment. Well, me and Amakran, but I told you earlier on that I had a broadcasting supremo in the house, one that some of us listen to, some of us that, listen to religiously. And when we're growing up and we started visiting other countries where they have the big broadcasting houses, the BBC, and you could understand the standards and the quality of radio broadcasting, then you come back to think about, and then this is the standard. And they were doing that at the time. Folks, I have with me one man that I listen to, and I'm sure that my being here, he of course has some genes in this. And I'm so honored to have him in the studio. Mr. Tommy and FORSON, an expert pastor. Uncle, good to see you.
It's Popo with me.
I hear the vaccination is out.
It's working. It's working
through a sticker. That's the vaccination.
I had one on my chair backstage.
The sticker. Go ahead. The thing that Mr. Mahama is marketing is a fake. What say about Mr. Mahama marketing strategy? You know, on a big platform like that, I recommended it for even a government, not an individual, a whole government. Anyway, you tell us how say Mr. Mahama do. Marketing executive is Soja Che. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, I dreamed this day, and I'm happy that it has come to pass. That one day I have the opportunity talking to you like this.
It's always a pleasure. Anytime.
Yes. No, let me ask you. Do you sometimes feel like the kind of quality yourself and your generation brought to radio and broadcasting, and the kind of rewards that you had, and look at the substandards in radio and the rewards that those involved are having, do you sometimes feel like the blasters of old who picked the African Cup of Nations severally and were giving tea kettles, and then those who are misfiring all angles, penalty, they can't score, they can't even get a mug for the nation, and they are getting a lot for it? Do you sometimes feel like that?
Sometimes I feel very sad. Very, very sad. In as much as this job is a sacrificial job, in our days, we put in everything we had. I mean, if you're talking about research, listening to your songs even before you go on air, scripting everything from your hello to your goodbyes. The only thing that would probably have a ... was your name and perhaps time. So everything was meticulously done because you wanted a certain standard of broadcasting. When you finish your program, you'd ask yourself whether you did well or you did not do well. If at the time you're on the air and you got a call saying that your director of radio wanted to see you, those are the GBC days, then the people will be sitting behind the microphone. You start the people then you ask yourself, oh God, what did I say? But in all that, you know, you get to the director of radio, he says, that was a fantastic program, or that was a lousy program. And so whichever way it was, I always had one of the 10 commandments of a broadcaster: never be satisfied with thy own show, because there's always room for improvement. So those were the standards we were looking for, but unfortunately, it's not like that today.
Why has this befallen us?
I think there's that lackadaisical attitude towards, you know, what you're going to do. I have seen people who just pick up their pen drives, pick up their external hard drive, just go into the studio, headphones, plug it in, drag and drop, and they are playing. Okay, even without listening to the lyrical content of a particular song. Today it's all money, 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 money. Okay, and so if you don't have that, then it means you're not living for the job that you're doing. But this is a job that you want to do, and not have to do. And so very little effort is put into it. I'll tell you something. A few days ago on a Sunday, I was to do a program, a 3-hour program on a radio station. It took me 4 days to do my playlist.
To prepare.
4 days. And it was about 250 songs. And I ended up using maybe about a quarter
Of that.
or maybe about half. But 4 days, which tells you that production went into it, listening to the songs, listening to the lyrical content, because I wanted to tell a story through music. But unfortunately today, it's not that. I can't really can't
Who's
put a finger.
supposed to make sure these standards are maintained? Is that the NCA or the Private Broadcasters Association or individuals like yourself who know the standards?
Mickey, whilst you were preparing for the show,
Yeah.
I was listening to you. Some people have the perception of old, perhaps, you know, the Mickey Osebeko that we knew perhaps is not the kind of person who can do a program like this. But you see, you don't judge a book by its cover. You understand me? Now, if we're going to look at the NMC, NCA, whatever happens, at the end of the day, you're trying to build integrity for yourself. You're trying to build respect. And so for me as a professional, you do it on an individual basis. Whatever you put into it, whatever you're going to listen to, whatever you're going to script comes from your mind.
Yeah.
And so your mindset tells you that I want to reach a certain standard. Whether it's NCA, whether it's NMC, they're not going to push you to say, okay, do this or say this or don't say this. It's up to you. So you should know the do's and don'ts, the plays and not to plays, and then you build that integrity around yourself. And then you become whoever you want to become to be.
I'll come back to your time on radio now, because for me, I still want to learn some more. I know there's Rabodef school and all of that. I'll attend that school. But let's go back to where you started. Maybe that will inspire some people to understand that it doesn't just come in. You need to prepare before the opportunity comes in. How did they all start?
Those days, you know, for me, I've always said the story that a misfortune is a blessing in disguise. And to make a long story short, I heard this gentleman on air, and I was sick at the time, and I said to myself, wow, I never listened to radio, but I was compelled to, because I was virtually bedridden, you know, and after a
what was wrong?
I had a jaundice at the time, you know, which was mixed with the those days I wasn't.
the sticker wasn't available at the time.
Anyway, so eventually we became friends.
Yeah.
The issue of nightclubs came in. I started DJing in a nightclub before I even went into broadcasting.
Wow.
Babylon nightclub. I did that for a few years, and I was asked to apply, which I did. But those days, you know, broadcasting house and what have you, they're always looking for a certain result and all that. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I failed my examinations with success. You know,
yeah, I understand when it comes to that. No.
I bombed with success.
So you're giving a medal for that, especially at home.
Yeah, and I think that was the only time that GBC said, look, I think this guy has got what it takes, so let's give him a try and see. And so with all the hullabaloo and this and that, they gave me a chance, and voila. But you see, before you went on the air, if you're going to do a program, you have 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah.
Write your script, have it typed out, printed, you take it to the director of radio or director of programs. They edit everything.
Before you go
on the air, Mickey, I am telling you. And if they find one mistake, as much as one comma or a full stop omitted in your script, you retype everything. So you go through a process of perhaps 3 editings, and then you go on rehearsal in front of the director before you go on the air. So it's not like today somebody just walks into the studio, shoves in his pen drive, turns on the microphone, and voila.
Some even go to the studio from the drinking pub.
Exactly.
And the ways that they read the news these days, it's become so dramatic. I just don't get it. I'm sure these are the things that your school is
absolutely
preaching against.
We take you through a very vigorous training program. we put a lot of pressure on you. We look out for pronunciation, we listen to your diction, even your voice and the way you inflect. Inflection plays a lot of roles when it comes to broadcasting. Adding color to your voice. Color is something you cannot see, but you can hear. And so we want to make sure that you sound very pleasant, you sound authoritative when you're reading your story, and make sure that whatever you're reading is not a facade or a mirage, but facts and figures.